I know a lot of people who haven't read the books, and nobody expected the White Walkers to attack at some point. Not the wall, but somewhere where they would be fully noticed. Nobody expected it to be such a full-on onslaught slaughter at Hardhome. Really. And, it was absolutely what we learned at Hardhome as well was also something else that was absolutely unexpected and fascinating. And actually, if you paid attention, you can kind of go back. Hindsight's 2020. You can see, because hindsight is 2020. You can see the foreshadowing of Jon Snow being a leader and that sword of his. But there's so much of it out there. I mean, you don't know when it's going to come forth and take place. And I mean, the next thing you really got to ask yourself about is the dragons. What's happening with the dragons? I mean, we know that winter's coming, but dragons are the opposite of winter. Are those three dragons going to be the savior of the whole land? I mean, are we? They've grown, and we've got the rebel dragon, Drogon, who is running around loose out there while his two siblings are now chained up. But I don't. There's some foreshadowing there, but you can't quite figure it out. And Tyrion, what the, there's Tyrion, the Tyrion thing, and there's so Arya. I mean, the faceless, or the nameless, faceless man. Whatever, it's absolutely amazing. Really is amazing. It keeps you on your toes. I love the program. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about different shows, as being, but I find them all to be typical. Even the good ones tend to be, there's too much predictability to them. Now, and some people say, well, that's reality. Well, no, House of Cards was totally unpredictable. The ending of this past season was unpredictable. Who would have predicted that in the middle of the campaign, Claire would leave Francis? Unpredictable. And you could say, well, she was getting discontented. Yeah, but you actually, it was leading you to believe that there was going to be some sort of big blow up and, that type of thing. But just for her just to up and leave? I don't know. Is that something that people think that Hillary Clinton must have wanted to do in the White House? Just up, but but Claire seemed to have at some point had some small political ambitions, maybe following in the Clinton footsteps of heading into the Senate after her husband finished his term as president. I don't, but now that seems to be a little, to me, that would seem to be a very bad thing to do for your political aspirations, abandoning your husband in the middle of a very important campaign for him. But it is what it is, and this isn't a show about shows. But hey, look. I get to talk about the programs that I really thoroughly enjoy, and there is not many of them. They're just, but anyway, I've been watching this program on Hulu. I think it's originally a CNBC program. It might be. There's a couple. I know one of them is CNBC, and that's The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis. Interesting program, interesting premise, and interesting program. However, that's not the one. American greed is the interesting one. It doesn't surprise me at the lengths that people will go to scam other people. Now, the reason why people, not everybody, but the reason why so many people are so easily fooled and scammed is because they're greedy. They're greedy in the wrong way. Now, and I'm not saying it's bad, because we've all have fallen into that trap, because we will look at certain things and say, well, I need to get, if I'm going to put my money and save it someplace, I'm going to need a higher, rate of return. Because, having a rate of return that is above inflation rate, let's say 9 or 10% return, is not good enough for most of us. Most of us want a bigger return. We want 15, we want 20% return annual. Hell, some of us want a 20% monthly return. And so we'll look for various ways of doing it. And when somebody comes along and seems to show us a seemingly legitimate way of doing it, we fail to do our full due diligence on them. We do a couple of little small investigations. Yeah, they're kind of real. Yeah. Because sometimes these scam artists, they will name their company just like a real company. And in one of the episodes I saw last night, these scammers actually did that. They legally named their company after another established financial firm. And so when people look them up, they got the established financial firm and thought that they were looking at these scammers. Now, if they would have just bothered to look a little bit further, they would have found out that there were two companies that named the same thing, and there's a separation there. And one had nothing to do with the other, but people didn't do that. And so they got scammed. Many of them lost their money. Hey, you're going to get these fantastic returns. All you got to do is just let us control the money. There were red flags all over the place, but people still got burned. And these people, they're out there saying, well, these guys are just terrible. Well, no. Well, yeah, they're criminals, but you were the foolish one to fall for their scam. Look, I go to seminars, these free seminars all the time. And there isn't, I think there maybe once I bought something. Once. But when I go to these things, I look for certain clues that this is going to be a scam. And there was one time a few years ago, I went to this seminar. It's a free seminar. And if you show up, if you wanted the first 500 or whatever it is to get, confirm your ticket or whatever, you're going to get a free tablet and a free MP3 player. Not, this is back when MP3 players, before they were really, 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 the back when the iPod was in its first or second incarnation. And tablets were just starting to really, come about. So I went. And I got to tell you, it was about, using this company to sell stuff. You pick whatever you wanted. They were going to help you. You use their websites and that type of thing to build traffic, and they'd help you build traffic. And it was really, not only did you have to pay like $2,000 for the course and consultation, but then you're paying, like, even back then, it was like $40 or $50 a month for this part of the website, and then another $30 or $40 a month for this part of the website. It was even expensive for website hosting back then. Now, website hosting is really cheap today, but go back 5 or 6 years, it was a little bit more expensive, but it was even expensive for web hosting back then. And it was like an entire day. You got lunch. Lunch ended up being pizza. Free lunch. But you sat there the entire day and you got pitched the entire day. There was very little real information that you could use and take home and sit down in front of your computer and use it. There wasn't, and what you could use was very benign. And if you didn't, it was very difficult for you to take notes to do this, because they went through it pretty fast when they got to some real meat stuff, and it was always on the screen. They never really, you couldn't record the conversation. So if you missed it, you missed it. If you couldn't get it down, write it down fast enough, you couldn't get it down. So from the first speaker, red flag went up. Because all they were talking about is what they did, how they did it. Well, fine, that's great. Why don't you tell me how you did it? I'm glad that, you made all this money. Beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Now, tell me how you did it. Nothing. Didn't find out how he did it. Oh, he told us he used this company. Yeah, but didn't tell us how he did it. And then another person gets up there for an hour and a half, goes on and on and on and on about, they had these watches and they did this and did that with watches and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great. Well, everybody here is not going to jump on the bandwagon and try to sell Rolex watches. So, but how did you do it? Again, nothing. Another red flag. And then at the end of the seminar, they were telling people, well, we can only take so many. Okay, red flag number 2, they'll take everybody who decides to sign up. I know that. Or red flag number 3. And then they say, well, we ran out of the free tablets. What? You specifically told us that if the first 500 people who sign up for this thing were going to get these tablets. Well, if 500 people signed up, shouldn't you have had 500 tablets there? And if you knew all these people were going to show up, wouldn't you have had the equal number of tablets? So you had to wait for this tablet. Well, okay, another red flag. And then MP3 player. I got the MP3 player. You know how many songs this MP3 player held? 20. It held a maximum of 20. That was it. 20 songs. No, it's not like I was expecting a full-blown MP3 player where you could, scroll through stuff and find the song that you want. Yeah, but it only held 20 songs. Like, are you kidding me? Only 20? And then I got this stupid little tablet thing. I don't even know what the hell it was. Some Chinese, no name, no brand, whatever, tiny little thing. And it wouldn't even connect to the internet. Not even hardwire. It couldn't connect. So it was useless. It was a piece of crap. And it took me a month to get it. And I had to threaten the company for them to send it to me. You guys promised this and this, and I'm going to report you as a scam. No, we'll get it to you. We don't, but you really should do this and and upgrade, so we'll get you a different one. I'm like, no. I want the one that you promised me. I'm not giving you any money right now. But there were plenty of people who did, to the tune of at least $2,000 for their basic plan, $6,000 or more. For some of their other plans. And, I didn't fall for it, but a lot of people did. Falling for look, we're falling for scams all over the place. And it's only because we're easy targets, simply because we're greedy in what we want and what we think we want. And then we don't do the needed and necessary research. I did my research, found out that this company had tons and tons and tons of complaints. I'm like, well, I'm not giving them my money. But you got to do your research, folks. We'll get into more right after this.